Hi again, another video from our family Canadian adventure this summer. On this trip we started in Seattle before heading over the border and out to Victoria on Vancouver Island. One of the must-do trips on that leg of our tour was a whale-watching boat ride. We headed out with eagle wing tours on a catamaran and sure enough had a fabulous encounter with a humpback whale which was shallow feeding near the surface. We were lucky enough to see a whole host of other wildlife including seals, sea lions, otters and a bald eagle, and the Americans on the tour were especially excited about that. While on the tour, our guide was relaying various facts about the cetaceans that we might encounter. As an orca specialist, our guide reserved her highest praise for these amazing marine apex predators. As she was describing their intelligence, social behaviours and adaptability, our guide offered up the fact that an orca's brain is 5 times the size of a human's and contains more complex folds on its surface as evidence that orcas might actually exceed human intelligence. After her presentation, I raised this point with our guide. When she's not spending summers as a naturalist on board whale watching tours, she's an academic studying marine biology. We had a great discussion about theories of mind, neural complexity and density versus size, and a few other topics. A recurrent theme across our discussion was emergent properties, the idea that unexpected qualities or attributes will manifest as you add more complexity to a system. More isn't just more of the same, but more can be qualitatively different at a certain point. We see this with AI systems. As our neural network-based systems have become larger in every sense, more trainable parameters, more training data, and more computation dedicated to their training, we've seen unexpected properties emerge. From systems that ought to be no more than simple next word probability engines, we've seen properties like reasoning, spatial awareness, numeracy, and many other properties emerge. Applying this to whales and humans, it would seem to stand to reason that if an orca has larger and more complex computing hardware in the form of its 5 times bigger brain, it ought to be more intelligent. However, an argument I offered to my tour guide naturalist is that orcas and other whales are starved of training data. As land mammals with opposable thumbs, we are able to explore and interact with a richer and more data-filled world. For orcas, much of their time is spent in the open ocean, essentially surrounded by nothing but blue sea. The marine biologist in my sparring partner wouldn't wholly agree to this line of argument, as echolocation may offer a rich and data-filled environment to the whales that is essentially invisible to us. 2 things that we did agree upon are that, first, a lack of small-scale tool-using dexterity and a lack of access to material in the open ocean from which tools might be fashioned meant that whether more intelligent than us or not, there was no route for whales to develop and externally evidence their intelligence with fire, writing and semiconductor-based machine intelligence clues as we have. Secondly, that whales and dolphins are unquestionably sentient according to any sensible definition of that term. But what of AI? Emergence is certainly a reality of AI research over the last few years, with recent large language models and large multimodal models certainly exhibiting a range of initially unexpected behaviours. Our laws recognise the dangers associated with emergence. Both the EU's AI Act and California's draft Senate Bill SB 1047 have set thresholds in terms of the amount of computation used to train an AI system, after which point the AI is deemed to pose a higher or greater risk. In the EU AI Act, that limit is that a general purpose AI is deemed to pose a systemic risk and require greater compliance and oversight when more than 10 to the 25th power of floating point operations of computation are used in its training, and that's a 1 with 25 zeros after it. California sets the threshold 1 order of magnitude higher, requiring AIs to be subject to what is colloquially described as a kill switch, once 10 to the 26th power of either floating point or integer operations of compute are used. Present systems are, for the most part, not embodied systems and still only produce output when specifically prompted. They seem to have no continuous awareness, and most commentators regard them as not possessing any recognizable degree of consciousness. This is changing rapidly, though, with progress in embodied AI and robotics progressing at pace. I've just watched a video trailing Figure 02 humanoid robot with a self-hosted multimodal model embedded within the unit. This type of system is perhaps the first step on a pathway towards an embodied machine intelligence that might be regarded as possessing consciousness. As models get larger and robots more sophisticated and computing hardware more capable, it's easy to see the present path of development taking us to a point where a sufficiently large AI model exhibits real consciousness as an emergent property. And what then? Certainly, if the whale is anything to go by, maybe there is hope. I'm old enough to remember Save the Whale campaigns from the late 1970s and early 80s. During my childhood, my mother's love of the natural world meant that our household supported many of these nascent environmental causes. In the UK, we have concepts of animal sentience enshrined in law with the Animal Welfare Act 2006. The US has its own animal welfare laws and has seen cases such as the Non-Human Rights Project against Lavery, which is 2018, investigate whether human rights like habeas corpus apply to higher primates. And of course, we've seen documentaries such as Blackfish have a significant impact on public attitudes towards orca sentience in particular. All of this, to make a dreadful whale-based pun, deserves a deeper dive. I've already lined up a colleague to help with a longer piece of writing on these topics, so look out for that in the not too distant future. But for now, let's think about the digital whale and whether or not we will see a legal change to allow AI consciousness to be properly recognized at some point. If nothing else, I hope you've really enjoyed some of these beautiful Canadian backdrops as well. Thank you very much.